The roar of the crowd hit Seraphine like a physical blow as the iron gates groaned open. Beyond them lay the arena of proving, a vast circular pit of packed red earth surrounded by thousands of howling spectators. The afternoon sun blazed overhead, merciless and blinding. Move, reject. A guard's boot connected with her lower back, sending her stumbling through the gates. She caught herself before falling, refusing to give them the satisfaction. "Mama, what's happening?" A child's voice rose from somewhere in the stands, innocent and confused. "Hush, Talia. Watch and learn what happens to those who defy the pack." Seraphine's chest tightened at the exchange. She had been that child once, watching punishments from her father's shoulders, never imagining she would one day stand where the condemned stood. The arena of proving was ancient, carved into the mountainside generations ago when the Valdrin pack first claimed these territories. Its stones had witnessed countless trials, countless deaths. Today, it would witness hers. She was one of 7 Omegas being herded into the arena like cattle. The others wept openly, their terror filling the air with the acrid scent of fear. Seraphine kept her face blank, her emotions locked behind walls she had spent years building, walls that had kept her sane through rejection after rejection, through her father's cold disappointment, through the whispers that followed her everywhere. "Citizens of Valdrin!" High Counselor Morith's voice boomed across the arena, amplified by the ancient acoustics. He stood on the elevated platform reserved for pack leadership, his silver robes catching the light like armor. "Today we cleanse our pack of weakness. These Omegas have been deemed unworthy, rejected by every Alpha who sampled their scent, a burden on our resources, and a stain on our bloodline." The crowd jeered. Someone threw rotting fruit. It splattered against the shoulder of the Omega beside Seraphine, a girl who couldn't have been older than 17. She whimpered, trembling so violently that Seraphine could hear her teeth chattering. Today, they faced the trial of fangs. Morith's thin lips curved into something cruel. "They will fight our warrior betas. Those who survive earn exile. Those who fall." He gestured dramatically to the dark stains on the arena floor that no amount of sand could fully cover. Seraphine's blood ran cold. The trial of fangs wasn't a trial. It was an execution dressed in the language of tradition. Omegas weren't built for combat. They were healers, nurturers, peacemakers. Sending them against trained warrior betas was murder with extra steps, and everyone in this arena knew it. They just didn't care. Her eyes swept the arena, cataloging exits, counting guards, calculating impossible odds. That's when she noticed the commotion on the royal platform. A new group had arrived, visitors from the look of their unfamiliar banners. Black cloth emblazoned with a silver wolf's head, teeth bared in eternal challenge. At their center stood a man who made everyone around him seem diminished by comparison. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with dark hair that fell past his jaw, and a face carved from granite and shadow. But it was his presence that stole Seraphine's breath. Power radiated from him like heat from a forge, pressing against her senses even from this distance. She had never felt anything like it. "Who is that?" one of the other Omegas whispered. "Kavrin Thornwood," another answered, her voice trembling. "Alpha King of the Northern Dominion. They say he's never lost a battle. They say he can shift faster than the eye can follow. They say he's searching for his mate, but no Omega has ever been worthy." Seraphine stared at the Alpha King, and for one impossible moment, his gaze found hers across the crowded arena. Eyes like molten gold locked onto her face with an intensity that made her forget to breathe. She felt pinned in place, examined, seen in a way she had never been seen before. Then Morith was speaking again, and the moment shattered. "Release the betas." 4 massive warriors burst from the opposite gates, already half-shifted, their bodies caught between human and wolf. Claws extended, fangs bared, eyes glowing with predatory hunger. The crowd screamed its approval, stamping feet and howling for blood. The Omega beside Seraphine, the young one, fell to her knees, sobbing. "Please, please, I don't want to die." Something cracked inside Seraphine's chest. She had spent her entire life being told she was worthless, rejected by her father for not being the alpha son he wanted, rejected by every potential mate at every matching ceremony since she came of age, rejected by her own pack, who saw Omegas as nothing more than breeding stock or servants. She was so tired of being rejected, so tired of watching others suffer while she stood paralyzed by her own fear. The first beta lunged toward the sobbing girl, claws raised for a killing strike, and Seraphine moved. She didn't think, didn't plan. Her body simply placed itself between predator and prey. Her arms spread wide as if she could shield this stranger with nothing but flesh and defiance. It was foolish. It was suicidal. It was the first time in her life she had felt truly alive. The beta's claws stopped inches from her throat. His glowing eyes widened with surprise, then narrowed with amusement. He was massive up close, muscles rippling beneath skin that was already sprouting coarse fur. "You want to die first, little Omega?" His voice was a guttural rasp, barely human. "I can arrange that." "Seraphine," her younger brother's voice cut through the crowd's noise. She spotted Cassian in the stands, his face pale with horror, held back by 2 guards. He had tried to stop this, had begged the council for mercy. They had laughed at him. The beta's claw traced down her cheek, drawing a thin line of blood. The sting was sharp, bright, almost clarifying. Such pretty skin. It'll look lovely decorating the arena floor. Seraphine held his gaze without flinching. Her heart hammered against her ribs, but she refused to let him see her fear. "Then stop talking and do it," the beta snarled, arm pulling back for the strike. "Hold." The single word crashed across the arena like thunder, freezing everyone in place. Seraphine's head snapped toward the royal platform, where the Alpha King had risen to his feet. Even Morith looked startled. Caverin Thornwood descended from the platform with predatory grace, each step deliberate, and his golden eyes never leaving Seraphine's face. The crowd fell into stunned silence. Even the shifted betas lowered their heads in instinctive submission, unable to resist the weight of true alpha power. "Your Majesty," Morith stammered, hurrying to intercept him. "This is an internal pack matter. Surely you don't wish to interfere with—" "I wish," Caverin said, his voice low and dangerous, "to know why you're slaughtering Omegas for sport and calling it justice. They are rejects, Your Majesty, unworthy of—" "I've seen enough." The Alpha King's gaze swept across the 7 terrified Omegas, lingering longest on Seraphine. "I'll take them." The words dropped into silence like stones into still water. Seraphine felt her heart stutter. "Take them?" Morith's voice cracked. "Your Majesty, these are criminals. Name their crime." Morith's mouth opened and closed like a fish drowning in air. They are unwanted, unmated, a drain on. "Being unwanted is not a crime." Kyverin's voice could have frozen fire. "Name your price, counselor. I'm purchasing these Omegas under Northern law, which your pack recognized when you signed the treaty 16 years ago." Seraphine couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The Alpha King of the Northern Dominion was buying them, buying her. Why? What could he possibly want with rejected Omegas? Morith's face had gone purple with suppressed rage, but he couldn't refuse. Not publicly, not with thousands of witnesses and a treaty that bound them. 100 gold pieces, he spat. Each, a fortune. An impossible sum meant to make the king withdraw his offer. Caverin didn't blink. Done. He gestured to one of his guards, who produced a chest that clinked with unmistakable weight. 700 gold for 7 Omegas. "I trust that concludes our business." The crowd erupted in confused murmurs. Moreth looked as though he might choke on his own tongue. Kyvrin turned to Seraphine, and again that intensity in his gaze made her feel stripped bare, seen in a way she had never been seen before, as if he could look straight through her walls to the terrified, hopeful girl hiding beneath. "Can you walk?" he asked, his voice gentler than she expected. Seraphine lifted her chin, ignoring the blood still dripping down her cheek. "I can do more than walk." Something flickered in those golden eyes. Surprise, perhaps, or interest. The corner of his mouth twitched in what might have been the beginning of a smile. "Good." He offered his hand, a gesture so unexpected that several onlookers gasped. An Alpha King, offering his hand to a rejected Omega. "Then let's get you out of here." Seraphine stared at his outstretched palm. Every instinct screamed at her to be suspicious. Powerful men didn't help people like her without wanting something in return. There was always a price. But behind her, 6 other Omegas were still trembling with terror. The young one was still on her knees, and the betas were still watching with hungry eyes, waiting for the Northern King to change his mind. Seraphine took his hand. His fingers closed around hers, warm and strong, and a jolt of something electric raced up her arm. She saw his eyes widen slightly, saw his nostrils flare as if catching an unexpected scent. Something shifted in his expression, surprise, wonder, and something deeper that she couldn't name. "Interesting," he murmured, so low only she could hear. Then he was leading her toward the arena gates, his guards falling into formation around the cluster of rescued Omegas. The crowd parted before them like water before a ship's prow. As they passed through the gates, Seraphine allowed herself one glance back at the arena. Morith stood on his platform, radiating impotent fury. Her brother Cassian was being released by the guards, his face a mask of disbelief and desperate hope. She had walked into the arena of proving, expecting to die. Instead, she was walking out belonging to an alpha king, and she had no idea if that was salvation or simply a different kind of doom. The journey from the arena to the northern delegation's encampment took them through Valdrin territory. Seraphine walked in a daze, aware of whispers and hostile glares, the protective formation of northern guards surrounding them, and the Alpha King, who walked at the front of their group with a stride that suggested he owned every inch of ground beneath his feet. Where are they taking us? The young Omega Seraphine had learned her name was Elira, pressed close to her side, still trembling. Her earlier sobs had faded to hiccups and sniffles. I don't know, Seraphine admitted. Are we slaves now? I've heard stories about northern packs. Enough. Seraphine softened her voice when Elira flinched. We're alive. Right now, that's enough. But privately, the same fears gnawed at her. 700 gold pieces was a staggering sum more than most families earned in a lifetime. No one spent that kind of money without expecting significant return on their investment. The encampment appeared around a bend in the road, dozens of tents arranged in precise military formation, banners bearing the Thornwood crest snapping in the wind. Wolves in both human and shifted form moved between the structures, pausing to watch the newcomers with curious eyes. Fenric, the Alpha King called to a grizzled older man with silver threaded through his dark beard. See that our guests are given food, clean clothes, and a place to rest. Have you sold examine any injuries? Guests, not property, not prizes. Seraphine filed the word away, uncertain what to make of it. The other Omegas were led toward a large tent, but when Seraphine moved to follow, a hand caught her elbow. She spun, instincts flaring, to find the Alpha King standing behind her. Not you, he said. We need to talk. Seraphine's pulse jumped. About what? About why you're different from the others. About why you stepped in front of that beta's claws instead of running. About why touching your hand felt like grasping lightning. She had no answer for the last part. She had felt it too. That electric surge, but the other questions had simple answers. I stepped in front of her because she was going to die, Seraphine said flatly. I didn't think. You didn't think. The Alpha King's lips twitched. You saw certain death coming for someone else and threw yourself in its path without thinking. That's either the bravest or most foolish thing I've witnessed in a decade. Does it matter which? It might. He gestured toward a smaller tent set apart from the others. Walk with me. It wasn't a request. Seraphine recognized the tone of someone accustomed to absolute obedience. But there was no menace in it, no threat lurking beneath the surface, just authority, worn as naturally as his own skin. She walked with him. The tent's interior was sparse but comfortable, a desk covered in maps, a sleeping pallet, a small chest. No luxuries, no ostentation. This was a warrior's space, functional and efficient. Sit, Kavrin said, indicating a cushioned stool. He remained standing, arms crossed, studying her as if she were a puzzle he couldn't quite solve. Seraphine sat, back straight, refusing to be intimidated. You paid 700 gold for us. Why? Direct. Good. He began to pace, a restless energy in his movements. I'll be equally direct. What I witnessed today disgusted me. Omegas aren't disposable. They're essential to pack stability, to the continuation of bloodlines, to the very fabric of our society. Slaughtering them because no one has claimed them yet is barbarism. Yet, Seraphine repeated, you think someone should have claimed us. I think the fault lies with the Alphas too blind to recognize value when it stands before them. His gaze locked onto hers. Tell me about yourself. Your name, your history. Why were you in that arena? Seraphine hesitated. Her history wasn't something she shared easily. It was a wound she kept bandaged and hidden, rarely exposed to light. But something about this Alpha, his directness, perhaps, or the way he had looked at her in the arena made her want to answer honestly. My name is Seraphine Ashvale. My father was Beta Commander Torwin Ashvale. He wanted an Alpha son. He got me instead. She kept her voice flat, emotionless. When my mother died giving birth to my brother Cassian, my father blamed me for being the wrong kind of child in the first place. When Cassian presented as an Alpha, my father finally had the heir he wanted. I became invisible. Kavrin said nothing, but his jaw tightened. I was presented at every matching ceremony from my 16th year onward. 7 ceremonies, 7 rejections. Seraphine smiled, but there was no warmth in it. The Alphas said I smelled wrong, that there was something broken in my scent, that I made them uncomfortable in ways they couldn't explain. Uncomfortable how? I don't know. They never explained. They just turned away. She lifted one shoulder in a shrug she'd perfected years ago, casual, indifferent, hiding the deep well of hurt beneath. After the 7th rejection, the council declared me a failed Omega, a burden. My father didn't argue. 2 weeks later, I was in the arena. The Alpha King had stopped pacing. He stood motionless, his expression unreadable but his body radiating tension. Your father allowed this? My father suggested it. The words tasted like ash. He said it would be a mercy, quicker than letting me wither away, unwanted. Something dark and dangerous flickered across Kyvrin's face. For a moment, he looked every inch the fearsome warrior king the stories described. I'd like to meet your father someday, he said softly. I have thoughts I'd like to share with him. Despite everything, Seraphine felt the corner of her mouth twitch. I'd pay to witness that conversation. You won't need to pay. You're under my protection now. He moved closer, close enough that she could smell him pine and smoke and something wild, like the forest after a storm. Which brings me to my next question. What do you want, Seraphine Ashvale? The question startled her. What? What do you want? Freedom? Sanctuary in the Northern Territories? A position in a new pack? A chance to return and gut the council members who sent you to die? His voice was calm, as if all these options were equally reasonable. Tell me what you want, and I'll see what can be arranged. Seraphine stared at him, genuinely speechless for the first time she could remember. No one had ever asked what she wanted. Not once in 23 years. She had been told what to be, what to do, what to accept, but never asked. I don't know, she admitted finally. I never thought I'd live long enough for it to matter. Kyvrin crouched before her, bringing their faces level. This close, she could see the striations in his golden eyes, like fire trapped in glass. Could see the faint scars on his jaw and cheekbones that spoke of battles survived. Could feel the warmth radiating from his body. Then let me make you a promise, Seraphine Ashvale. His voice dropped, intimate and intense. You will live, long enough to discover what you want, and long enough to claim it for yourself. This I swear. Seraphine's heart was pounding against her ribs. She didn't understand this man, this king, who spent fortunes on rejected Omegas, who asked her desires as if they mattered, who made promises he had no reason to keep. Why? She whispered. Why do you care? Kyvrin's gaze dropped briefly to her throat, then back to her eyes. Something shifted in his expression, a crack in his composure that revealed something raw beneath. Because when I touched your hand, he said slowly, every instinct I possess screamed one word, a word my wolf had been silent about for years since my father died and grief made him retreat. But when our hands met, he woke, and he said one word. What word? He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he rose, stepping back as if needing distance. Rest now, he said, his voice once again controlled. We leave for the Northern Territories at dawn. The journey takes 3 weeks, and you'll need your strength. Your Majesty, Kyvrin. He paused at the tent's entrance. When we're alone, call me Kyvrin. Then he was gone, leaving Seraphine sitting in stunned silence, her mind racing with questions and her hand still tingling where he had touched it. What word? The question haunted her as she was escorted to the Omega tent, as she was given food and fresh clothing, as she lay awake on a clean pallet, listening to the soft breathing of the other rescued Omegas. What word had the Alpha King heard? And why did some part of her, buried deep beneath years of rejection and pain, already know the answer? 3 days into the journey north, Seraphine was certain of 3 things. First, the northern wolves weren't savage. They treated the refugees with careful courtesy. Second, something was happening to her body, strange heat beneath her skin, sensitivity to sounds and scents she'd never experienced. She could smell a rabbit from 50 yards away. Third, the Alpha King was avoiding her. Since their conversation in his tent, Kyvrin had not spoken to her directly once. He rode at the head of the caravan, conducted business with his officers, occasionally checked on the other Omegas, but whenever his path might cross Seraphine's, he found reasons to turn away. It stung more than it should have. He watches you, Alira said one evening. When you're not looking, you're imagining things. That night, Seraphine couldn't sleep. The heat had intensified. She slipped outside to a stream, pressing icy water to her face. You shouldn't be out here alone. She spun, heart lurching, to find Kyvrin standing a few feet away. He wore simple traveling clothes, his hair loose around his face, and looked like he hadn't slept any better than she had. Dark circles shadowed his golden eyes. I needed air, she said. You needed answers. He moved closer, but stopped at the edge of the stream bank, maintaining careful distance. I can smell it on you, the confusion, the fear. Something is changing, And you don't understand what? Seraphine's hands trembled. Do you understand, I mean? Kavrin was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was rough. The day I touched your hand, I heard my wolf speak for the first time in years. After my father died, he went quiet grief, the shaman said. Some wolves never recover from losing their alpha parent. But when our hands met, he woke, and he said one word. He let the word hang in the air between them. Mate. You're my mate, Seraphine. The one the fates chose for me. The one my wolf has been searching for since I came of age. The world tilted. Seraphine grabbed the nearest tree to steady herself. That's impossible. I'm a rejected Omega. I've been told my entire life that my wolf is damaged, that my scent is wrong. Your wolf isn't damaged. Kavrin's voice hardened. She's dormant, suppressed by years of trauma and rejection and being told you were worthless. And your scent isn't wrong, it's so right that every alpha who encountered you ran because they weren't strong enough to claim you. They sensed a power in you they couldn't match, and it terrified them. I don't understand. Neither do I. Not fully. He ran a hand through his hair, frustration evident in every line of his body. I've sent messages to our pack's historians, our oldest shamans. There are legends about Omegas born with sleeping wolves. Omegas whose power only awakens when they meet their true mate. I didn't believe them until I met you. Seraphine's legs gave out. She sank to the ground, her mind reeling. Everything she'd been told her entire life that she was broken, wrong, unwanted might have been lies, or misunderstanding, or both. The changes you're feeling, Kavrin continued, crouching before her. The heat, the heightened senses your wolf is waking up. Being near me, near your mate, is triggering the process. You've been avoiding me, because I'm terrified of what I might do. The admission seemed torn from him against his will. The mate bond is overwhelming. Every instinct I have demands I claim you, mark you, make you mine in every way possible. But you don't know me, you don't trust me, and you've spent your entire life having choices stolen from you. His hands clenched into fists. I won't be another alpha who takes what you don't freely give. Seraphine stared at him, something cracking open in her chest. He was the Alpha King. He could have taken whatever he wanted. No one would have stopped him, and many would have praised him for it. Instead, he was fighting his own instincts, torturing himself to give her the choice she'd never had. Kavrin, she whispered. His name on her lips made him shudder. Don't, he said hoarsely. Don't say my name like that. My control is hanging by threads as it is. What if I want your control to break? His eyes snapped to hers, blazing gold in the moonlight. You don't know what you're saying. I know that I've felt more alive in the past 3 days than in the past 23 years. Seraphine pushed herself to her feet, moving toward him despite every rational thought, screaming caution. I know that when you touched me, I felt something I'd given up hoping to ever feel. I know that whatever is happening to me, whatever I'm becoming, it started with you. Kavrin stood frozen, his chest heaving. If you come any closer, I won't be able to stop myself from touching you. Maybe I don't want you to stop. She took another step. His control shattered. One moment he was standing apart from her. The next his hands were cradling her face, his body pressed against hers, his mouth hovering a breath away from her lips. Last chance, he growled. Tell me to stop. Seraphine answered by closing the distance between them. The kiss was nothing like she had imagined first kisses to be. It wasn't gentle or tentative. It was consuming, devastating, a wildfire that burned through every defense she'd ever built. His lips claimed hers with desperate hunger, and she answered with equal ferocity, her hands fisting in his shirt, pulling him closer. Heat exploded through her body, but this time it wasn't uncomfortable. It was glorious, transformative, as if every cell was waking up after a long sleep. She heard something crack deep inside her. Not bone, but something metaphysical. A barrier breaking, a cage opening, and then pain. Seraphine gasped, tearing herself away from Kavrin as agony lanced through her spine. She collapsed to her knees, her vision blurring, and her body convulsing. Seraphine! Kavrin's voice was frantic. What's happening? I can't. The pain intensified, radiating outward from her core until every inch of her felt like it was being torn apart and rebuilt. She heard herself screaming but couldn't stop, and beneath the agony, she heard something else, a voice she had never heard before, ancient and wild and female. Finally, her wolf whispered. Finally, you let me wake. The last thing Seraphine saw before darkness claimed her was Kavrin's terrified face, and beyond him, the full moon blazing silver-white in the midnight sky. Seraphine drifted in and out of consciousness for what felt like eternity. Fragments reached her through the darkness, voices urgent with worry. the sensation of being carried, the scent of pine and smoke that she now associated with safety. "Rest," her wolf murmured. "The awakening takes time. Let your body adjust." When she finally opened her eyes, she was lying in a bed softer than any she had ever known, surrounded by walls of polished wood. Daylight streamed through a window, carrying the scent of mountain air and distant snow. "She's awake!" Alira's face appeared above her, pale with relief. "She's awake, Your Majesty." Footsteps, quick and heavy. Then Kavrin was there, his face drawn with exhaustion and fear that melted into overwhelming relief when his eyes met hers. "Seraphine." Her name was a prayer on his lips. "You've been unconscious for 4 days." 4 days? Her voice came out raspy, weak. "Your wolf was waking up." An older woman appeared beside the bed, silver-haired, with kind eyes and capable hands. "My name is Isolde. I'm the Northern Pack's chief healer. What you experienced was a dormant awakening. It's rare, 1 in 10,000, but survivable, clearly." Seraphine struggled to sit up. Her body felt strange, stronger, somehow, and more sensitive. She could hear Elira's heartbeat across the room, could smell the herbs Isolde had been mixing, could sense the tension radiating from Kavrin. "My wolf," she said slowly. "I can feel her now. She's there." "I've always been here," her wolf replied. "You just couldn't hear me." Kavrin sat on the edge of the bed, his hand finding hers. The touch sent sparks racing up her arm, but this time it wasn't painful. It felt right. "How do you feel?" he asked. "Different." Seraphine flexed her fingers, marveling at the subtle strength she could feel in them. "I feel like I've been living underwater my entire life, and I've finally broken the surface." Something flickered in his golden eyes, hope, perhaps, or longing. "The awakening isn't complete," Isolde warned. "Her wolf is present now, but they haven't fully bonded. Until they do, she won't be able to shift." "What does that require?" Seraphine asked. Isolde and Kavrin exchanged a glance that made Seraphine's stomach tighten. "Normally," Isolde said carefully, "the bond completes naturally over time. The wolf and human aspects learn to trust each other, to work in harmony. But in cases of dormant awakening, especially ones triggered by a mate bond, the process is unstable," Kavrin finished. "Your wolf was suppressed for too long. She's eager, desperate to fully emerge. If we don't find a way to complete the bond safely, the transformation could overwhelm you." Seraphine absorbed this. "And if I'm overwhelmed?" Neither of them answered. They didn't need to. "There's another option," Isolde said reluctantly. "But it's dangerous, and it would require the Alpha King's participation." "Tell me." "A claiming bite. If your mate marks you during the full moon, the bond between you will stabilize your wolf. Give her an anchor." Isolde's eyes moved between them. "But if the bite is given before you're ready, before your wolf is strong enough to accept it, the process could kill you." "No." Kavrin stood abruptly, his voice harsh. "Absolutely not. It's not your decision alone," Seraphine said quietly. "I won't risk your life. My life is already at risk." She met his gaze steadily. "You said it yourself without completing the bond. The transformation will overwhelm me. At least the claiming bite gives me a chance. A chance to die. Or a chance to finally live." Seraphine pushed herself to sit fully upright, ignoring the dizziness that swept through her. "I've spent 23 years being told I was broken, worthless, and wrong. Now I find out that none of it was true, that I have a wolf, that I have a mate, that I might actually have a future. Do you really think I'm going to let fear stop me from claiming it?" Kavrin stared at her, his expression torn between admiration and anguish. "The next full moon is in 6 days, Isolde said softly. "If we're going to attempt this, we need to prepare, both of you." The Alpha King was silent for a long moment. Then he reached out, cupping Seraphine's face in his hands with devastating gentleness. "If you die," he murmured, "I'm following you into the afterlife just to yell at you." "Despite everything," Seraphine laughed. "I'd expect nothing less." When Isolde and Alira had gone, Kavrin's forehead dropped to rest against Seraphine's. "I'm terrified," he admitted quietly. "I waited my entire life to find my mate. The thought of losing you so soon after finding you. Then don't lose me." Seraphine's hands came up to grip his wrists. "Help me survive this. Stand beside me during the ritual. And when it's over, when my wolf is stable and my transformation complete, I'll stand beside you just as fiercely. Is that a promise?" "That's a vow." Something shifted between them, a deepening, a solidifying of whatever bond had sparked to life when their hands first touched. Seraphine could feel it in her chest, a warmth that had nothing to do with her awakening wolf. "He is ours," her wolf said with satisfaction. "And we are his." "Not yet," Seraphine replied silently. But soon. 6 days until the full moon. 6 days to prepare for a ritual that would either give her everything she'd never dared to want, or take away the life she was only just beginning to value. Either way, she refused to face it as the broken, rejected Omega she'd once been. She would face it as Seraphine Ashvale, mate of the Alpha King, Omega with a waking wolf, and survivor of every cruelty fate had thrown her way. The 6 days before the full moon passed in a blur of preparation and growing tension. Seraphine learned that they had arrived at Thornwood Keep while she was unconscious. The castle was carved into the side of a mountain, its towers reaching toward the sky like stone fingers grasping at clouds. Unlike the polished grandeur of Valdrin's council halls, Thornwood Keep felt alive, worn smooth by generations of hands, warmed by enormous hearths, filled with the sounds of wolves and children and life. She also learned that news of her existence had spread through the pack like wildfire. "They're calling you the Dormant Queen," Alira reported on the second day, her eyes wide with excitement. "There's a prophecy, apparently. Something about a sleeping wolf who would wake to stand beside the Alpha King and bring unprecedented power to the northern bloodline." "That's ridiculous," Seraphine said flatly. "I'm not a queen. I'm not even officially mated yet." "Yet," Alira grinned. "That's the important word, isn't it?" But not everyone in Thornwood Keep was pleased by Seraphine's arrival. On the third day, she encountered Lady Ravenna Blackthorn in the gardens, stunning, with raven hair and eyes like frozen lakes. "So you're the Omega everyone whispers about," Ravenna said, voice honeyed with poison. "The reject who caught our king's attention. And you are?" "Ravenna Blackthorn, daughter of the Eastern Alpha. Until your arrival, I was the leading candidate for Kyvrin's mate." "She threatens us," Seraphine's wolf growled. "The mate bond isn't chosen," Seraphine said calmly. "It simply is." "Ravenna," Kyvrin's voice cut through. "That's enough. She is my mate. Any disrespect toward her is disrespect toward me." Hatred flashed across Ravenna's face before she curtsied and departed. That night, Seraphine couldn't shake the memory of that hatred. "She is dangerous," her wolf warned. "We should be careful. We have bigger things to worry about right now." On the fourth day, the symptoms began. Seraphine woke before dawn, drenched in sweat, her body racked with tremors. The heat that had plagued her during the journey had returned tenfold. "It's the incomplete bond," Isolde explained. "Your wolf is fighting to emerge fully, but without the claiming bite to anchor her, she's destabilizing your body. How long can I survive like this?" Isolde's silence was answer enough. Kyvrin arrived within minutes. "We need to move the ritual up." "We can't. The claiming must happen under the full moon. If we attempt it early, we'll kill her faster." Seraphine watched through a haze of pain. "I'll survive. I didn't come this far to die before the interesting part." Kyvrin dropped beside her bed. "You stubborn. Stay with me?" "Always." He didn't leave her side for 48 hours. Through fever and agony, Kyvrin remained. He held her hand. He pressed water to her lips. He spoke constantly stories of his childhood, promises of their future. "I'll take you to the Singing Falls," he murmured. "The water cascades from such heights it makes music as it falls." "That sounds beautiful." "Not as beautiful as you, mate," her wolf sighed. "Our mate loves us." On the fifth day, something unexpected happened. During her worst episode, Seraphine felt a foreign presence brush her mind. "Easy, little sister. You're fighting too hard." The presence was warm, ancient. It wrapped around her struggling wolf like a calming embrace. "Who are you?" "A friend. Someone who walked this path long ago. I am Isolde Thornwood." The pain receded enough to breathe. "The ritual will work, but only if you trust your mate completely. No barriers. He must see all of you, the strength and the weakness." When Seraphine told Kyvrin about the visitation, something shifted in his expression. "Do you trust me completely?" he asked quietly. Seraphine touched his face. "Yes, Kyvrin Thornwood. With my life, my wolf, and whatever future we might have." He pressed his forehead to hers. "Then tomorrow, we claim each other, and nothing will ever separate us again." The night of the full moon arrived with electric charge. Seraphine stood in the ritual chamber beneath the castle, a circular space carved from living rock, lit by hundreds of candles. Ancient symbols covered the walls. She wore a simple white gown, feet bare against cold stone. Only a handful attended, claiming rituals, the pack's eldest shaman, the chief healer, and witnesses chosen by each party. At the center, only Seraphine and Kyvrin remained. He faced her bare-chested, marked with ceremonial paint. Candlelight turned his skin to bronze, his eyes to molten gold. "He is magnificent," her wolf breathed. The ancient shaman raised her hands. We gather beneath the full moon to witness a sacred bond. Let the spirits bear witness. Alpha King Caverin Thornwood. Do you accept this woman as your mate? I will. Seraphine Ashvale. Do you accept this man? I will. Then approach. Let your wolves speak. They moved together. When Caverin took her hands, Seraphine's wolf surged forward, not aggressively, but joyfully. Two becoming one. I need to bite you now, Caverin said, his voice strained. It will hurt. Claim me. His head descended, lips warm against her neck. Mine, he breathed. Yours. His teeth sank deep. Pain exploded sharp, brilliant, all-consuming. But beneath it, something else. Doors flying open, chains shattering. Yes, her wolf howled. Finally, the bond snapped into place. Suddenly Seraphine could feel Caverin, his emotions, thoughts, soul, his overwhelming love, his fierce protectiveness, and his wolf, greeting hers. Brother, her wolf said. Sister, his answered. Welcome home. When Caverin lifted his head, tears shone in his eyes. You're alive. You're mine. Not just yours. Turn around. He obeyed, baring his throat. Ultimate trust. She rose on her toes and bit down. His blood tasted like lightning and thunderstorms. The bond deepened completely. It is done, the shaman announced. But something else was happening. Seraphine's body began to glow. Silver light emanated from her skin, blazing like captured moonlight. She's shifting, Isolde gasped. Seraphine dropped to her knees as bones reformed. But unlike her awakening, this felt natural, the pain of birth, not death. Her spine elongated, fur sprouted, silver white and gleaming. Then she stood on 4 legs. She was a massive she-wolf, coat shimmering with luminescence, eyes blazing with power. Hello, she said through the bond. Caverin shifted, a massive black wolf with blazing eyes. Hello, my queen. They touched noses, wolf to wolf. The dormant has awakened, the shaman cried. All hail the Alpha Queen. They burst into the moonlit night, racing through mountains for hours, 2 wolves moving as one. Above them, the full moon blazed like a blessing. The following days were the happiest of Seraphine's life. She spent hours practicing her shift. Her wolf was magnificent, fast, strong, connected to Caverin's in ways that transcended proximity. The pack embraced her with overwhelming warmth. The rescued Omegas found positions and purpose. Alira was training as a healer. They love you, Caverin said one evening. The pack has already accepted you as queen. I'm not sure I know how to be a queen. You've already been one. In the arena, when you protected a stranger. During the ritual, when you bit me back. Queens aren't made by crowns. They're made by choices. She kissed him, still amazed this was allowed. But their peace was not to last. On the 7th day, everything changed. Seraphine was in the great hall when the doors burst open. A wounded warrior stumbled through. Attack! The southern border Valdrin wolves' silver weapons. Within the hour, Thornwood mobilized for war. Stay here, Caverin commanded. I'll return when it's over. Let me come. Your wolf is barely a week old. I cannot fight while worried about you. Come back to me. Promise. I promise. He kissed her fiercely, shifted, and was gone. The waiting was torture. Hours passed. Wounded wolves returned, but Caverin did not return. On the 2nd day, Fenric appeared, gray-faced. The battle is won. But Morith unleashed a weapon targeting mated alphas. The king collapsed. He's dying. Seraphine's world tilted. Take me to him. Caverin lay in their chambers, ravaged by spreading poison. Silver-black veins crawled beneath his skin. Seraphine. His voice was barely audible. I'm sorry. Don't apologize. You're going to be fine. But through their bond, she felt the truth. He was fading. The bond is keeping him alive, Isolde said, but also spreading the poison to you. If we don't sever it, no, we are not severing anything. You'll die with him. Then I'll die with him. Caverin's fingers tightened. No, let me go. Like hell I do. Then Seraphine remembered her magic, the healing gift she had buried so deep. Everyone out. When they were alone, she placed her hands over his heart. Something that will save you or kill us both. Seraphine, trust me. Golden light erupted from her palms, brighter than ever before. It poured into Caverin, chasing the poison, but the poison fought back. More, her wolf urged. Seraphine poured everything into it, magic, life force, essence. She felt herself weakening. If this kills me, at least he'll live. But then the mate bond flared not as a conduit for poison, but for healing. Their essences merged, shared, equalized. Together, their combined power blazed brighter than the sun. The poison screamed, then vanished. Seraphine collapsed across Kavrin's chest. For a long moment, neither moved. Then his hand cradled her head. "You impossible woman. I saved you. You nearly killed yourself. Worth it." He kissed her gentle, desperate, overflowing. When Isolde rushed in, she found the Alpha King sitting up, color returning, with the Alpha Queen asleep against his chest. The impossible had happened. Seraphine slept for 3 days. When she woke, Kavrin sat beside the bed, healthy again. "How long?" "3 days. It was a miracle you survived. My specialty." On the 4th day, Fenric arrived with troubling news. "Valdrin is preparing another assault. Morith has allied with 3 packs to eliminate the Wolf Witch and her corrupted king." "Wolf Witch?" "Word of your healing spread. They're using it to justify aggression." "How long?" 2 weeks. Kavrin stood. "Then we prepare." Seraphine rose despite her weakness. "I'm coming with you. I'm your queen." His expression softened with pride. "Come then. Let's plan a war together." 3 days before the expected assault, everything shattered. Seraphine was in the healing halls when the explosion rocked the castle. They came early. Through the bond, she felt Kavrin's fury. "Stay inside." But Valdrin wolves poured through the breach, silver weapons gleaming, eyes glazed with unnatural enhancement. And at their head, Morith himself. "Find the witch. Bring her alive. Kill everyone else." Seraphine grabbed the healers. "Get to the inner keep." "Go!" She shifted as attackers reached her. "They dare attack our home." She fought ferociously. 3 enemies fell before they overwhelmed her. Silver chains wrapped around her limbs, burning. "Shift back," Morith commanded. "Or see how much silver your wolf can endure." Seraphine shifted, gasping as silver burned her skin. "The Wolf Witch." Morith circled. "Not so powerful now. My mate will kill you. Your mate is occupied with forces attacking from 3 directions. By the time he reaches you, you'll be dead and the bond's backlash will destroy him." Through the bond, she felt Kavrin fighting to reach her. "Hold on. I'm coming." But he was too far. Morith drew a blade pulsing with malevolent energy. "This blade severs mate bonds. When it pierces your heart, your king will feel you die. You're insane." "Practical." He raised the blade. "Any last words?" "Kavrin, I love you. Don't you dare say goodbye." The blade descended, and Seraphine stopped fighting. She poured every ounce of magical energy outward, not to heal, but to destroy. Golden light exploded like a supernova. Chains shattered. Guards flew backward. Morith stumbled, and Seraphine transformed. Wolf and magic merged into something transcendent. She stood wreathed in golden light, silver-white fur glowing, eyes blazing with ancient power. "What is this?" her wolf asked. "I don't know. But I know what to do with it." She moved like lightning. Her claws tore through enemies. Her light burned away dark magic. Within minutes, the invaders were dead or fleeing. Morith tried to run. Seraphine caught him. She pinned him down, claws at his throat. "You tried to murder Omegas for sport, poisoned my mate, attacked my pack. Mercy. I am showing mercy. You'll live long enough for northern justice." She knocked him unconscious and leaped through the breach. Survivors would tell stories of what they witnessed. A wolf made of moonlight racing through battle, enemy forces faltering, wolves near death healed by her passing touch. The black wolf and the silver standing together, the air trembling with combined power, and her howl carrying magic, authority, absolute command. Stop. Every wolf froze. The power of an alpha queen demanding obedience that transcended loyalty. "This ends now. Your leaders are defeated. Surrender and live, or continue and die." One by one, coalition wolves lowered their heads. Kavrin shifted beside her, hand finding hers. "You extraordinary woman. You're extraordinary woman." "All hail the Alpha Queen!" The cry spread across the battlefield. Seraphine stood in the ruins mate beside her, pack around her, enemies at her feet. Not just a queen, a legend. 7 months later, Seraphine stood on Thornwood Keep's balcony, watching the sun rise. So much had changed. The coalition packs had sworn fealty. Morith had faced justice. Valdrin had a new council that had apologized for its treatment of Omegas. Cassian had been instrumental in the reforms. Thinking too loudly again. Kavrin's arms wrapped around her. "Good thoughts." She leaned into him, thinking about how different everything is. 7 months ago, you were preparing for another rejection, and you were resigned to a political mating. "Don't remind me." Comfortable silence. Illyra completed her training. Isolde says she's the most talented in decades. The other Omegas are thriving. 3 found mates. and no Omega will ever face the arena of proving again. Kavrin pressed a kiss to her forehead. You changed everything. We changed everything. Together. He pulled back, searching her face. Speaking of together, Isolde examined you while you recovered. She said you're carrying our child. The world stopped. What? A pup, Seraphine. Her hand flew to her stomach. A baby. We're having a baby. Are you happy? She answered by kissing him with everything she had. A pup, her wolf crooned. Our pack grows. When they broke apart, both were crying. I never thought I'd have this, Seraphine said. Any of this. And now? She looked at the kingdom that had become home, at the mountains where she ran with her mate under every moon, at the future stretching before them. Now I have everything. He pulled her close. They had faced death and betrayal, war and darkness, and they had emerged triumphant. This was their story. This was their home. This was their forever. The end. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed the story. If you'd like to listen on the go, all my stories are also available on Spotify. You'll find the link in the description below. A big thank you to everyone who's following. Your support truly means the world to me.